back in March, we talked about how Windows was making some changes so that they could satisfy their users, which have been progressively getting mad at them. Today, we're going to check in on the limitations of the program that they have and the progress that they have already made. Thanks for checking out this video by Switch to Linux. If you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Leave us a like and a comment down below. And we are today going to talk about the progress that Windows has made. And if you remember, we covered in a video back in March that Windows they're starting to lose even the most diehard of Windows fans. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that Windows they just cannot get out of their own way. Probably too much profit and not enough listening to users, and many users have simply had enough. It's become very common that you can get scripts that you can use to modify Windows, and this raises security concerns about bringing in third parties to do basic core features. And some people argue that maybe Windows should just let us do some of these things. So they came up with a roadmap to start listening to people and make some changes. And their first one is you can now move around that panel bar. Well, whip-de-flippin' doodahs. Okay, most of us are kind of mad about things like forcing us into online accounts and forcing on everybody to be constantly logged in and forcing internet connections on setup and throwing AI everywhere. Well, that's one they're actually working on. But let's go ahead and have a look at their progress. Now, they did have an article here, came out a couple weeks ago here, Windows Quality Update, progress we've made since March. And this kind of goes into what they're doing. So there's apparently more options inside of the Windows Insider program. You can go into the beta or the experimental channel. There's a little bit more transparency about what some of the things they're doing. They're doing less disruption from Windows Update. This is actually good. This basically means that they're not, Windows isn't going to be as crazy. You can set it to delay updates up to a month now, and it will try not to, shut your entire computer down in the middle of your project if you're actually working on it. But, be warned, if you go out to take a shower, you might come back to Windows 11 if you were holding back. That's happened a few times. They have talked about simplifying AI experiences. In fact, I didn't include it here in my article, but even that new Copilot key, they're talking about a soon update is going to come that you can remap that key back to the control key, which it cannibalized, or the context key, whichever one you happen to like the most. And so that certainly is a good thing as well. Then they're looking at, make File Explorer faster and more dependable. Oh, the core thing that allows me to actually access the files in my system. That's not fast and dependable. What's going on here? Control over widgets and feed experiences, improving system performance. So that's kind of what they're looking at. Windows Central over here actually is keeping an eye on this, and they gave us a little simpler chart to kind of see exactly what their progress happens to be. And so having a look down here, the taskbar repositioning. So this is done. This is, you can actually, well, at least it's in the preview mode. You can actually now move the taskbar around. So presumably that's going to come to an update near you. Taskbar customization, that is all good now. As far as AI, I'm not sure exactly what this one means, what the hourglass means. Is that we're still waiting on it, or is that they're taking their good old time? I'm not sure. Reduce unnecessary Copilot entries and snipping pool photos and widgets. So snipping tool is removed in Notepad. Copilot is replaced with AI writing tools. So there's some movement on that one. Windows Update Controls, so slowing down those windows, that is actually rolling out now. File Explorer is a work in progress. It is now in testing, but not in preview yet. And then widgets, quieter defaults, more control, better personalization. I hope better personalization means don't show me any of this crap at all. Not, hey, would you like to see your customized notifications and advertising, or just the generic ones? Windows Insider program has the clearer defined panels. That's rolling out now. Feedback Hub, that's rolling out now. And then system performance, the UI migration and File Explorer fundamentals. These are kind of in the workings, in the progress. Now, the challenge there here that we have looking at this is it doesn't address some of the biggest functions that people have been complaining about in my experience. The always-on telemetry that you cannot stop, that was big. That's why I switched to Linux. I do not want my system phoning home about anything. But we need it for doing better diagnostics. Well, then where are all of these better diagnostics? Every single rollout Windows has is more atrocious than an Arch update from a decade ago. I mean, you roll things out and your encryption keys stop working. You all of a sudden have to enter a BitLocker key that you didn't even know you had to have, and all sorts of other weird stuff has been happening. Arch has become crazy and stable. Isn't that funny? I mean, yeah, all right. But the fact of the matter is that they're collecting a bunch of information. It apparently is not to make the system better. It's only gone worse since then. And then, of course, the other factor is the forcing of the Microsoft accounts, and every single time somebody comes up with good ways to get around that, they're going ahead and wiping those systems off the books as fast as new workarounds are discovered and become popular. And so right now, I don't even know how you can create a Windows 11 computer without having the forcing into a online account. I'm sure there's still a couple of ways. I think right now, you can do it through, Rufus, allows you to set those flags and do that. Other than that, though, you're getting into some pretty weird custom stuff in order to do that. These are two of the big factors a lot of people are talking about that they are not addressing at all. I also didn't see anything here about reducing the amount of notifications / advertisements / I'm sorry, they're not advertisements. According to Microsoft, they're recommendations. Now, what is the fine line between an advertisement and a recommendation? You got me. I mean, it's euphemisms, I'm not going to vomit at all this kind of stuff. I'm going to engage in an involuntary personal protein spill. That's what I'm going to do. I mean, but the fact of the matter here is that Windows is making some commitments. And a lot of these commitments are super surface things to make some people happy on a few things. But in my opinion, it is not becoming as deep as it needs to go. That is why I still will continue to recommend and use Linux for most cases. If you can use Linux, you should be using Linux. That is my recommendation because you have full control. You have Linux distributions that do not constantly check in, whether it's forcing online accounts, whether it's telemetry or things like that. There are, of course, those features inside of many Linux distributions that can do some of those things if you want them to, but they do not necessarily have those in every distribution, even in most distributions. It is indeed very rare. Talking about the AI, Windows wants to put AI everywhere, of course, so they can upsell their AI and tell all of their shareholders how many people are using their AI. I'd like to see the number. How many people are using the AI versus trying to get around using the AI? That's interesting to me because that's all it is. And that is an unfortunate position Microsoft has put itself into, that they are beholden to these shareholders and they have a fiduciary responsibility to constantly be increasing their profits, not even staying static, but constantly increasing, which means they have to keep on looking for more creative ways to monetize the users. And that is the type of stuff I completely 100% stand against. That is why I like Linux. Nobody's there forcing me to use some system. Nobody's recommending a bunch of things that I don't want or need. I mean, here's a thought. If I wanted to use your OneDrive setup, maybe I set it up the first 15 times you sent me a prompt. It's not like, hey, the 16th time. I know the marketing materials say, you just got to keep putting the thing in front of people and eventually they'll buy. Microsoft, I ain't buying. Of course, I'm on Linux now, so obviously I'm not going to buy because, that's a thing. But anyway, there is our take about what Microsoft is doing, what their changes are. They are making some progress, but to me it looks like they're just feeding a little couple pellets to those ducks and those fish coming on by. You know, they're not actually looking at real changes, real consequential things that we really need to see happening in Windows. But this is their way to look down and say, oh, we have angry users. They want to reposition the taskbar. The taskbar, I don't care, okay? I put it on the side, put it on the top, put it on the bottom, I don't care. But you want to stop sending my personal data to your clouds, and you want to stop forcing me to sign into an internet account to use my computer, that would be awesome. Let me know when you get there, and I'll consider maybe, not really, using Windows again. But of course, go to linuxmint.com. That's my recommended Linux distribution. There are many other great Linux distributions. Just don't get caught up in the paralysis of analysis. Just start there, tinker around, and then once you get comfortable with it, then you can branch out and look at other distributions as well. Let me know your thoughts about all these in the comments down below.